What is going on, everyone? You're listening to the Gaming Foreplay podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Hold Fast Hope.
What's going on?
How we doing? So, Gaming Foreplay podcast, we're basically be talking about sports games and then anything else that interests us. Obviously, right now, we got Madden 18 stuff, and that's what we are here today to talk about.
Yeah, we finally had some information. We got a gameplay trailer, and then we have 3 blogs detailing some of the new gameplay features of Madden 18.
Yeah, so before we hop into that, just what the podcast is basically about, this is a weekly to bi-weekly. It can also be an emergency podcast. We plan on doing it maybe once or twice a week with a set date, and then say, if Madden 18 drops randomly some crazy gameplay footage or something about MUT Squads, this or that, we could do an emergency podcast about that. We could bring developers on. We basically have a lot of flexibility with what we want to do with this, but it's very, right now with, FIFA coming out, with NHL releasing stuff, with the beta coming out actually in 3 days, and Madden dropping all this stuff, it's not just going to be focused on Madden. We've done stuff with MUT in the past, but we're looking to take this to just gaming, sports gaming news, and then anything else that interests us, keeping it as broad as possible.
Yeah, I feel like we should probably explain the name.
Yeah, if you want to do that, because we sat for maybe 2 hours trying to think of a name, and it was tough.
It was a long time. Gaming Foreplay is pretty much like Jay and I do play a lot of games together. But before we do, we always we pretty much just gossip about any and everything. And so we figured, the little play on words with foreplay before we game.
Yeah, and it fits, it ships, and we're gonna roll with it. I mean, a podcast is something that I know you wanted to do it in a different field. We've done live streams. We've recovered Madden Ultimate Team content. We've done set streams, but a podcast is different because it's where you get to sit down, talk one-on-one. I've listened to some fantasy football ones or just other podcasts in general, and it's got a different feel, and I like the feel of a podcast and what it can bring. So
yeah,
this will be live on our YouTube. We'll have links to them. If you're listening to it on iTunes, we'll have links to the YouTube in the description, yours and mine, and this will also be live on iTunes. So
hitting all the platforms.
Yeah, and I know some people like listening to it on YouTube. And I know some people like to listen to it on the go, and a YouTube video will just kill your data on your phone. So we're gonna roll with on the iTunes friendly as well. I know a lot of people do use iTunes. So yeah, without further ado, you want to just start crushing some of this Madden stuff?
Absolutely.
So Rex Dixon was one of the few guys out there that were retweeting a lot of this stuff, about the Madden content that was dropping. And also, you guys can find a lot of the stuff on the EA Madden NFL Twitter, the EA Sports homepage on the internet. And also, a lot of the EA guys are retweeting this stuff as well. But Rex Dixon who was dropping a lot of the links early. And the first information we got was regarding the video. We got a little gameplay. I guess we can call it a teaser trailer.
Yeah, it's about a minute. Yeah, about a minute long gameplay trailer.
Yeah, not raw footage, but it's gameplay footage. And it highlighted briefly each of the 3 things that are in the blogs. So without going into too much detail, the blogs are where they get to, dive in a little bit deeper and explain it. But the video, I mean, it's a minute long. I mean, what else could you really expect in it? It wasn't anything amazing, but it was put, I guess, well together.
Yeah, this is probably stuff that you'll see on TV.
Yeah,
during the NFL season and stuff. First thing for me is, I don't know if this shaky cams when you first load it up is going to be part of the true presentation, but I hope that stays. The second thing that I honestly really notice is the Frostbite Engine and how the game looks. You see a lot more detail in the players themselves.
Agreed. It's good because for this, I don't know, like you're saying, the Frostbite's the big thing you notice, and when we saw FIFA, FIFA was the first EA Sports game to jump into the Frostbite world. Now we're starting to see, with Madden, it makes the game look completely different, a lot better, a lot crisper. Like you said, the shaky camera actually looks really nice, and then the 3 different things that we're going to jump on with these different blogs. I mean, the game looks beautiful. People say this looks like the same game as last year. I've heard a lot of people say that from year to year, it looks like the same thing as last year. But I actually highly disagree. I think each year it looks different when it doesn't necessarily need to look different, because it looks good to begin with. Madden's graphics have been great.
Yeah, I think it's been kind of one of its strong points. It's always looked a lot better in comparison to other sports games.
Yeah, it has. Presentation looks nice. They're doing a lot more. They're adding like a lot more things here and there, because what's cool about this stuff is with like these games is that once you get like the base of the game, the base of all the things you want to lay down in the game, the groundwork, like, the cornerstones of games, you get to add stuff here and there. And like, this is the year with Madden where they're fine tuning things like the wide receiver interactions, passing, and then even just the different play styles that we're going to get to see. So we had to, go through a few years of Madden where we had like some rough patches, like, aggressive catch was a thing, rocket catch, whatever that stuff was called back then. And then, the Y button, swerving. But now, like, after a few years and they finally get to add like their fine tuning marks where they haven't released like a big gameplay update, it's nice. It's nice to see like a few years down the line, if this was their idea, it's panning out well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that's in the trailer that's not in the blogs is actually the new coach adjustments.
Yes.
You can pause the video if you want to watch along. 21 seconds. They have auto flip defensive play call on, ball in the air defense. I'm going to guess it's like play ball, conservative, balanced. There's options for cornerback matchups, option defense, and pass rush. There might be more to it, but I can't. It looks like there's more to it, like on the option, like you could scroll down, but we don't get to see that.
We saw this a few years ago in Madden, where Madden you can actually set up who matched up with who, your cornerback against the receiver, and then it disappeared for a few years, and it actually hurt. That did hurt, the game a little bit, because I felt like I lost a lot of my coaching ability, and like, you'd probably want your faster corner on the faster wide receiver, or the better, like your better corner against the better wide receiver, whatever it was. And now you're getting back to it, and we've seen the play ball and air defense as a trait on MUT cards in the past, and the fact that now we get to just pick how that we want them to play the ball, that I think if you play Madden Ultimate Team specifically, or if you play like, franchise mode and you're going after all those guys that play a certain way, now that if you can like fine tune it, that might kick a lot of that stuff out of the way where it may not even matter as much.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I do know like the play ball in the air, like the ball and air defense was definitely in the old NCAA games that aren't around anymore. They also had like pass rush, like hit sticks, like go for strips or go for hit sticks, or I think it was actually tackling. So there's probably like another tackle thing down on the options about, do you want to go for conservative tackles, or do you want your AI to your computers to just try and kill them? And
I think the biggest thing for like the biggest, like the average couch Madden player that just sits there and just wants to get in like a casual game, they may sit there and be like, wow, this is a lot of stuff. This is overwhelming. I may not like this. The best thing about this is it seems like you don't have to change it if you don't want to. When we get into the game styles later, there's 3 game styles of arcade, of simulation, and competitive. You still have your normal Madden. You still have, I can turn on the game, I can play a game, not have to worry about any of this stuff, and just play normal Madden that I'm always used to knowing and playing. But if you really want to get into the nitty gritty and, cater the game as much to you as it seems like you can so far, you can do that. And it's not like this stuff's getting just shoved in your face. It's just showing you how far you can really push this game. And if you don't want to push this game, you can keep playing Madden the way you've been enjoying. Because, when we first started playing Madden, I'm guessing, I just turned on the game. I didn't care what playbook I used, and I just played.
Yeah,
and,
same.
Yeah, and like I feel like you could still do that. You're not going to have to get all the stuff thrown at you, and you're not going to get overwhelmed. So for the people, I hope that answers any concerns with that.
Yeah, I would say that the target passing seems to be most confusing to somebody. I think which we'll get to.
Yeah. Let's just do it. Let's jump into the target passing then. I like that. So, okay. Go for it.
So the target passing itself is pretty much like advanced lead passing to one player. So you're able to kind of put the ball exactly where you want. All the things that I've heard on it is that it's pretty difficult to actually use. Something that's really hard to master. And I think it's really interesting. New gameplay features like that, they're either so hard that they're not worthwhile, or they're too easy that it's like OP. So I think it's fair to actually be skeptical of it, just because, like I said, like new features like this where it's like it gives you total control, because it's gonna negate like accuracy ratings. I think the only thing that'll probably matter is throw power.
Yeah.
on your quarterback. So for some people, they're like, "Oh man, it's going to be OP. I can use Brock Osweiler, yeah, and just dot it up." But if it's so difficult that it's not good, it might even become like a niche thing. You know, where you only use it in the red zone, certain defensive formations. We'll see. You know, you'll see like the really, really great player, like the pro players, try and master the mechanic. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, and just like a little breakdown, like Hope was saying, using like short to throw areas in between zones to lead the ball to only where your receiver can get it. Those are like the situations that they've said to break it down. But let me just explain to you the target passing mechanic. So you're going to select your primary receiver before the play. You can activate that with the coach cam using the R2 button, and then press the desired button of the receiver to make him the primary receiver on the play. You bring up your target. So after the snap, you're going to hold the left trigger, and your target will come up as your primary receiver. So you move the target with your left stick as the quarterback and basically try to aim it into the target of the receiver. And then you switch the target to the receiver. So while holding left trigger, you'll press the button over the receiver, and the other receiver that's currently targeted, and the target will switch to that receiver. So you can basically switch around to different receivers if you want to. And then lastly, you'll throw it to the receiver. And hopefully that works. I think, Hope, this is something that's very hard to explain just on pen and paper or just by typing, that if you were to see it spoken out with a video behind it, I think it'd be a lot easier to understand.
Right. The one thing that I like is that, you know, if you decide to change your target, your quarterback's going to turn and face the target, which is good because it's something that's, I think it hints on like different levels. It's realistic, so it pleases that sim community, the guys that want Madden to be like NFL 2.0.
Yeah.
And then I also just think it's like a balancing mechanic to where, you know, you remember the QB vision cone?
Yeah.
Like your quarterback would move too. So that was always like a good, I think it needed to be fine-tuned, but it's not in the game anymore. Just for like that 1 year. It's like a nice balancing mechanic of physically seeing the quarterback move, and you as a defender can get a general idea, depending on the formation, pretty much where he's looking to throw it, which is great. So it's good that they had like balancing mechanic in mind. That to me is one of the main things when you introduce new features.
This is also something you could turn on and off by simply pressing left trigger. It's a lot of graphics thrown at you on the screen, which can be a little like, you know, distorting your vision of the field. So you can turn it off if you don't want it, which is fine. And then also, since your question on your mind might be, well, I throw a lot of low point passes holding left trigger. They've changed the low pass controls now. So you'll now hit left bumper to activate the high-low modifier. So once you click left bumper, then I can push up or down on the left stick to throw a high or a low pass. So for people wondering, there you go. That's an extra step. It seems like, Hope, now as a quarterback, you have a lot of extra buttons that you're pressing just to make a pass, just to make a certain type of pass. So if this passing option, the target passing, is a flop, maybe we see the old passing mechanics come back. But I like what you're saying where the quarterback turns and faces. That's one thing I do like a lot.
Yeah, I think it just seems intimidating, but really, it's literally you hold left trigger or L2. Like
Yep.
That's pretty much it. Like you can select your guy pre-play. It seems to me that even post-snap that you can, even if you maybe don't select a primary pre-snap, post-snap, you can just click on a guy. So it feels like the playmaker feature, but maybe just completely locked onto that one wide receiver, and that you maybe have to be targeted to that guy, or have your target activated on the wide receiver to have the playmaker feature.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting, because I do think, Madden 15, Madden 16, the playmaker feature was pretty OP. It took a heavy nerf this year, a little bit of a boost with the playmaker chem and Mutt and Salary Cap. So it's I got to see some gameplay on it for sure.
Yeah. Agreed. And then if you're just looking at the thumbnail at the bottom of this article, you'll see like a picture, and it's basically solving the question of throwing it in the zone. You'll see where the guy wants to pass it, throwing it in a zone. My only question, Hope, does this stuff change? How does this stuff change when there's a user involved in the area? Because this seems very easy when you're throwing it at a computer mark or an AI controlled player. But if you're throwing it near a guy that's usering, does this thing just bug out? Like, I'm curious to see how this works with the user involved.
Are you talking about user defender, or
it's a user defender? Like if I'm controlling a linebacker, how does this target passing? Because it's showing you where you should throw it, but how would it do that with a user there? I'm just wondering if a user cutting across the field, it could be a little misleading.
Yeah, for sure. You might be able to bait. That's a big thing too. You'll probably be able to bait some users into trying to jump a route and maybe switch off to the guy behind him and then like target pass it into that pocket that he just left open.
So I think we covered the targeting mechanics. I think let's just stick with the mechanics. Open. Let's jump into the wide receiver DB interaction mechanics. These are new to Madden. If you read the beginning of the article, this is a lot tailored to MUT squads because a lot of stuff that we might be saying, you might be saying, oh, how do I activate that? Or how do I do this and still control my middle linebacker? This is tailored to MUT squads because if you guys don't know what MUT squads is, it's team play for Madden where you're going to probably have one guy controlling a corner or or people controlling corners where they're going to have to use these interactions. They're going to have to use these different mechanics to play. And when you're playing a normal game, usually if you're playing on defense, you're either using a defensive lineman or a linebacker or a safety. Rarely do people use their corners. So this is, again, MUT squads probably. So we have the highlight coverage, we have press mechanics, we have contextual auto chucks, we have wide receiver release mechanics, there's a bunch of them. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, there's a little chart and it shows the win-losses for how these interactions go down. And Hope, it's a lot. There's a lot of the stuff here for these mechanics. And it's a lot. It's going to be a lot of pretty much overwhelming for someone to listen to. But if we just briefly cover them and explain more of like the win-losses, I think they'll get a better understanding of how this works.
Yeah. So as a defensive back, you have 3 options when you decide to press or jam them. So you can jam them by just flicking the right stick down. You can press them to the right stick to the right, and then you can press them to the left. The right stick to the left is the DB. Just looking at the chart, a lot of wide receiver losses.
Which could be scary because of 2 years ago.
With how good press was. Yeah. But this is a big thing, is that this is only for when they press. So honestly, it would be good to definitely master the controls. It's definitely going to take some time because they have some interesting, because they have like A on Xbox or X for PlayStation, in conjunction with the left stick. If you see a lot on the and then X and square.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting like control scheme to use the face buttons and not use like the right stick as a wide receiver.
And to counter the 3 ways to press, as opposed to the jamming or the press right or left, there is different releases for a wide receiver. So that's how you'll counter these. You have the standard straight, the standard right, the standard left, a just go, a change up straight, the change up right and left, and then the foot fire straight, and then the foot fire right and left. Pretty much, if the corner's going to press in a DB jam, press right or press left, and then verse the wide receiver standards or just go, the wide receivers are going to lose every single time. But like Hope said, a loss doesn't always mean, this is only when they're pressing, and then a loss doesn't necessarily mean like that wide receiver is not going to even make it to a route. It says, note, the defensive back will not always be pressing. A loss is press initiated, can still get cut out of the press.
Yeah, so I'm going to guess like ratings kind of matter there. You have the wide receiver release rating and the defensive back press rating, with in conjunction with, if you're the defensive back, making sure that you mess up the wide receiver and you're able to get just a loss on them. If you're playing a guy like Richard Sherman has really good press, but you're playing against like a Ty Hilton, T.Y. Hilton, you're probably going to win that. You're probably going to chuck him pretty hard, even on the wide receiver loss. It
says right here, win loss is interaction based on the beat the press plus strength rating. So versus offense and defense there. So
yeah. The only thing that I'll note is it has like loss, the press is initiated, can still cut out the press, super loss, locked up, rarely thrown to the ground, which is interesting. And then they don't have wide receiver win. They just have super win for the wide receiver, which is instant separation.
Yeah, they do not have an explanation for a wide receiver win, and there's only 2 wide receiver normal wins, and it only happens in the change up right or left versus a defensive back jam. So not too many of them. Hope there's some other interactions that can happen on the field. So there's more cut moves now, but there's a big thing I think we should talk about is, so say like there's two crossing routes going across the field, like, you know, like sometimes there's like pick plays or just crossing routes that just so happen to meet each other across the field. There's interactions now where if two routes are going across or two defenders are running, or if guys collide into each other, if they don't have the right awareness or a high enough awareness rating, they may not see it happen and get completely taken out of the play.
That's interesting.
So under contextual auto chucks, that's a pretty big one. Awareness is now might be a rating that people used to just pass on, like, oh, guy's got low awareness, I don't really care, he's got high zone coverage, that's all I care about. But now you might be thinking, awareness, I don't want my guys just running into being morons out there and just running into each other.
That's really, really interesting. That gives that gives value to different kinds of wide receivers
and defensive players now too.
Yeah, for sure. Because, you know, Madden's always been a game like speed dominates. It's a sports game, sports video game. Speed always dominates in these. But now they're trying to, bring in the awareness rating as kind of a big factor.
Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, we've always been looking at ways to think that, like, how awareness helps. Does awareness help on a right tackle when there's a blitz coming in from the bleachers? Does awareness matter on a quarterback? You know, if he's going to feel pressure coming at him, does awareness matter for this and that? And now we're being told that actually awareness matters for something that you don't necessarily control with your hands or your sticks, but you can control by playing who you have out there. I mean, no longer are you just going to take the fastest wide receiver, the fastest corner, and just say, yeah, I got the fastest guy, I'm good to go. You might not want to have those guys that are pretty dumb up in the brains out there running around for you. So,
yeah, I think you'll need a good balance. Because, every Madden, everybody would want John Ross, Perryman, and then obviously your typical big dogs like Julio Jones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, you're not going to see like the John Ross dominate as much, depending on how you use him.
Yeah, I mean,
because he's going to have lower awareness.
I mean, this may not even come to a factor because you might just have these John Rosses running deep routes and where they may not have to run into anybody. They're just running straight. You have them run straight and that's it. This may not even affect you. So if this doesn't affect your play style and you're happy about it, then good. If you're going to use that John Ross all day and just burn, go for it. So that's the wide receiver mechanics. It's pretty brief about it, but it's a lot. And again, you'll have to see more when they release more stuff about MUT squads because this is, I'm guessing, Hope, where we'll have to see this, like, the pure gameplay of it.
Yeah, this is where you're going to see a lot of the gameplay of it. I mean, they also have like route running and cut move mechanics using the right bumper R1 with combination with the left stick to make cuts. And you can also do fake outs with flicking the right stick. And it seems like a lot of combinations. It seems like a lot of information. I think, I did see on Twitter, some people were like, wow, they're making the game so hard, it's going to turn people away. But I feel like this gives the game depth. And like, there's something new to learn that isn't, what's the most effective plays. This is something completely different. Like, you have control schemes.
And I'm actually happy, Hope, that this is new for a different game mode that we haven't had. Like, I think a new game mode should have new stuff to it. MUT Squad should have some unique features to it because you don't want just the best guys being the best at everything. If someone's this good at being like a corner or a wide receiver, if he can master this different set of skills, hell, let him be the best now. I mean, I don't want the same guys, reigning. Like, if this can open for, someone else being the best wide receiver or being like a great squad now. This could open the door for a lot of people being pretty good at the game, because this is also available in franchise, MUT, and online head-to-head. It's not just available in MUT Squad, it's available in all the other modes.
Yeah, it's a game mechanic. You could always, even in Madden 17, you can click on the wide receiver, player lock on, and you can be the wide receiver. I don't know if you want to do that, but you can.
This just has me so hyped for MUT Squads. It really does.
See, the only thing that I wish with MUT Squads is I wish they combined MUT Squads and salary cap, because I don't want to have to play against, this time of year, I don't want to play against like golden tickets all over the place.
That's gonna be
ultimate tickets. Yeah, I mean, like, you're gonna have 99 whatever all over the place. Yeah, even early on. I mean, it's true that it is like scheme over team, and you can overcome ratings deficiency. And especially this year, they did a good job like balancing, making sure that, like, although it made a lot of people mad, the high-end players aren't so many levels above a lot of the budget guys and a lot of the important attributes that you feel like you have a fighting chance.
Good point. So let's jump into these game styles now, Hope, for the last of the 3 blogs that they released. So game styles are 3 game styles. There's arcade, there's simulation, and there's competitive. With, I think, competitive, Hope, being the new one to the group.
Yeah, I would say competitive is probably going to be the most talked about one. And this is something that I'd said, like end of Madden 16, with the Madden Championship Series moving on. I would say the 2 big things that I wanted them to see was like a spectator mode, which they eventually somehow implemented. I don't know if it'll be in Madden 18 or if it's just something that they have in-house for a lot of the events. I'm not sure. And competitive settings, because there's a lot of like dice rolls in Madden, because that's kind of how sports games work. There's a lot of, they try to like account for that human error. Yeah. And it's frustrating because it's completely out of your control. But there's a lot of like little things that they could do, and they did, to make it more consistent, to increase the skill gap of Madden, because it's a 1v1 setting. I mean, you're the quarterback, you're the head coach, you're the offensive coordinator, you're all these roles rolled into one. And I really like just reading the competitive settings and what they did.
Yeah, so let me give you a brief overview of the 3. So arcade is one we've had for a while. It's the high pace one where your user is going to be the most powerful guy in the field. User hit sticks and strip ball attempts will be a lot more successful. User controlled pass rushes will frequently beat the blocks. Spectacular catches will happen more often by elite players. Broken tackles and ball carrier fakeouts are common, and the chance of throwing interceptions by a user is lower. And you can also kick longer field goals and block kicks on defense. For the simulation now, simulation's more, the authentic football, as real as it can get for a video game, because what is Madden? It's a simulation of football. So expect the unexpected. Even high-rated players have a chance of failure. Injuries and penalties will happen as they do in the NFL at the same rate that they're going to try to happen. Players with elite skill ratings will be successful far more than those that don't have it. New pass inaccuracy systems allows more realistic performances from low-rated quarterbacks, which I think a lot of people are happy about. And then the fatigue and stamina have bigger impacts on gameplay. So for the sim people, there you go. For competitive, though, Hope, here we go. This is all about the stick skill. Going for an interception with a wide open defensive player who has a good catch rating leads to significantly lower chance of them dropping the ball. Check. We like that. Boom. Throwing from a clean pocket with the quarterback's feet set reduces the chance of an inaccurate pass, providing they have good pass rating accuracy based on the throw type. They are not using any of the pass mechanics. There's slightly lower chance of dropping a catch when the receiver is considered wide open and has good catch rating. And there's a decreased chance of offensive wins in multiplayer catch outcomes, such as throwing it to a covered receiver. And then only AI players with a big hit market trait can hit stick. So Hope, I think all of those points are like bingo. That's huge.
Yeah, I think probably the most controversial one is actually the last one. Only the bots with the big hitter trait can hit stick. I assume as a user you can hit stick. I think that's should be implied.
Yeah.
Because it's competitive, so it's going to depend on the user a little bit more than your AI. It's really, really interesting. So you're going to see guys like Harrison Smith again, the big hitting safeties again, and corners too. Like if there's going to be Mel Blount in Madden 18, people are going to have him. Night Train Lane, people are going to have him.
But so this was like a big controversy in the community when people were talking about this. So Hope, where do you stand? Do you want it to be so only the user can trigger a hit stick, or do you like it how it is now, or going to be, where only the big hitters and you can trigger a hit stick?
I think about all the times that you can actually click on and make the play and make the hit. And then I think about all the times that I hand the ball off on a dive and their awesome CPU Luke Kuechly destroys me and causes a fumble. And I think to me it's like he didn't really do anything to earn the fumble like my opponent.
Yeah.
His bot did. CPU Kuechly did. So I would like to see it played out where it's like the only fumbles that can occur are from the user. Like, I think that would be something that needs to be tested. Maybe they tested it in-house. I have no idea. And they're like, it doesn't work that well. But I think it's fine the way it is now. I like to see it.
Yeah, I mean,
I just got to see it.
I'm with you on it. I think if you're going to make it competitive and you're going to basically make it so that the user, if he does everything right, should win, you should have it where there's literally nothing else that can stop a user from, getting the short end of the stick. So that being, if I just hand the ball off and I've done everything right on this drive and his computer hits me and triggers a fumble, I mean, that I feel like would anger some people. I feel like I don't know if the competitive scene necessarily wants this, but I personally would rather that only fumbles happen when the user makes a great play. But should it happen every time? I don't think so. I think that's where ratings come into effect. If a guy's high carry rating versus lower hit power rating. But I feel like it should be when a user triggers a hit. User triggers a hit stick.
Right. Like I said, I think that just needs to be something that's tested, and just to see if first off, see if it's more fun. I mean, you can make a competitive game, but if it's not fun, nobody's going to play it.
Yeah.
So if only users in competitive settings can cause fumbles, if that turns out to be not fun, then all right. But I just think about all the times that, like, I don't feel like I fumble to users often.
Agreed, actually.
I feel like I fumble to good CPU defenders with hit power. Like, it may not even change anything,
It honestly may not. We may think it might right now, but you could be definitely right on that. Right on the nose.
And they go on the blog to let you know that each gameplay style, or each game style, they can fine-tune and change throughout the year, which is always great. I know people get upset that they patch the game. I don't know why. Like, if something's broken at launch, I would like it fixed.
Yes, broken, not the community has to alter the way they play.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest gripe about 17, is the game came out. The one thing that needed to be fixed was the force contained defender and counter runs. It didn't work properly, but they fixed that, but they also changed the run blocking and block shedding. And then you started seeing passing sets able to stop power runs.
And that's how we got quarter and dollar back in the defensive scheming.
Yeah, that's how dollar became the most popular defense for a few months, and then nickel blitz came out, and then that was boom, that's the meta. That's it for the rest of the year.
Yeah, those defenses were stopping heavy sets, and again, I think it's just I feel like it's the community being I know we're going off topic, but the community became a little lazy. They did not like that they had to use a run stuffing defense to stop running formations, and they wanted just to be able to defend everything all at once. So I feel like that right there was the community's fault, and I don't think people are going to own up to it.
Yeah, I always heard from some people who take feedback for games. They always told me people give terrible feedback. Most people, and I'm finding out that that's true. They really do, and that was such a huge change. It didn't seem like a big change, to increase block sheds and stuff like that, but it was such a huge change. It completely shaped the way that Madden played, because you needed to have a run heavy defense, and then you needed to have a shotgun defense or a passing defense.
Yeah.
But that one change let you sit in dollar for pretty much everything. So
that's basically covered everything that's been released in Madden 18. Hope from upcoming stuff. I know FIFA released some stuff. This is how the general length we want to keep these episodes. I think Hope. I mean, around the 32 an hour mark is good. It's not going to lose your guys' attention. But we got NHL gameplay for beta dropping in a few days, so we'll definitely. I know if you guys don't know Hope's a big competitive NHL player back in the day. Still dabbles with it a little bit here, but we'll definitely be giving that a shot. The beta in that FIFA's dropped a few things with a few mechanics for FIFA 18 that we can jump into another episode about too, and then maybe some new stuff about Madden. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there should be more stuff coming out about Madden. The things that we know. The only other gameplay thing that we know is ID the mic.
Yes.
And that'll be a big feature.
So if we get a blog about that soon, we'll do that. We're not just going to jump onto a podcast if one thing comes out. We'd like to fill up an episode like this did. This is a good length for a podcast again. So maybe the next one could possibly be about the NHL beta once we get our hands on that in a few days. FIFA's mechanics maybe, and then dabble a little bit with any smaller things that come out in Madden. But if you guys want to reach us on Twitter, you can reach me at JO30, JAYOH30, Hope at Hope Twitch, one word. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure you guys leave a like. If you guys are on YouTube, drop a comment. If you guys are on iTunes, make sure you guys give us a rating. If you guys are enjoying this, give us that thumbs up. Give us that 5 stars. But I think this was a good, successful first episode. Covered everything. I think we covered it well.
Yeah, let us know what we can do better, because that's the whole point. We can't get better if you don't tell us.
Yeah, that, and also, this is not just going to be a duo podcast every single week. We are looking to bring on developers. We are looking to bring on people in the community that can give it. I know, Hope, you are more into NHL. You can hit that community, but also for like the FIFA people. We're not the biggest FIFA players, or 2K or NBA Live, you know. We'll try to give you guys like the expert opinion on that stuff.
Absolutely.
So, if you guys enjoyed, we'll see you guys on the next one.